I hold in my hand a piece of paper that has a lot of numbers on it, a lot of monetary number on it. What I'm talking about today is what it costs for us to put this studio space up. For you, it would just be a shop unless you do YouTube videos like I do. This is a studio space / shop. We do a little bit of all of it in here. But I wanted to sit down, and yet I didn't want to sit down and see exactly how much this cost. The first thing I'm going to say is, did we finance this? No, we did not. We paid cash pretty much for everything we did on the studio space here. After having taken out a big loan on the house that we took out, I didn't really want to go in and then also take out a big loan for the studio space. I'm not even sure we could have gotten approved for the loan for the studio space. So rather than spending way more money and not being able to be approved for the loan, we just sucked it up and took money that we got from the 2 houses that we sold, my mother's old place and the place we were at on Ridgemont for a lot of years, and used some of that money to bank into this building here. That being said, this crap ain't cheap anymore. In 2022 and 2021, but even more so now, it costs a lot of money to put something like this up. And it's not going to get any cheaper for a little while, I don't think it's going to get any better. So I'm one of those kind of people where I'm just going to look at the money where I'm sitting and figure that's what it's going to cost. If things go down in the future, will I have a lot of regret? Heck yeah, I'm a human being. I'm not going to sit here and look at it and go, yeah, well, that's not a problem at all. It is a problem, and it will make me sad. But I needed this studio space right flipping now. Had we done this in 2018 and 2019, I suspect that this piece of paper would be about $10,000 cheaper. Well, not this piece of paper, but you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to go right into the nitty-gritty of what we spent. And I will kind of delineate some things within here to let you know what that costing involves. For one thing, lot clearing. Got to be done. Y'all saw the video where we put up where Cam and I were standing in a bunch of pine trees. Welcome to South Carolina. Pine trees are everywhere. That cost us around $850. I say around because I can't find the check that I wrote to him in my banking information, but I know I paid $850 at one point, and I don't think I spent any more on that. So for lot clearing, I thought that was pretty good. Now we had also a sizable amount of concrete poured here, and I think our concrete size here is 40 by 72. That includes the pouring that they did inside of Studio A and also the outside apron areas around the main studio here, which is Studio B, and it's only that because it was here second. So cost on the concrete was $4,456. Again, not so bad. I don't mind that cost. Now the building is where the chunk of change comes in because we bought a metal building. Looking at the prices of lumber where they were at and doing the math on having a stick-built building put up, it was going to be cheaper to get the kind of height I wanted and the kind of rafter space I wanted inside the building with the metal building. Pros on the metal building is I really like the structure. Termites are never going to be an issue. Cons on the building are that without a shingle roof and another room over the top, anytime it rains in here, if it's a hard rain, we'll have to stop filming production because it's just going to be too noisy. But all that being said, we got our building from Backyard Oasis up in Ringgold, Virginia, and the cost on it was $19,698, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts that high price is even higher now. The price I just told you is actually higher than what the original quote I got from them in, I believe, 2019 or early 2020. I think it was 2020. I looked at putting a building up on the property we were on at Ridgemont. And guess what? It was like $4,000 less than what we had here. Welcome to Pandemic City or whatever. Insulation was $3,400 plus installation of the insulation by my friends at Pro Home Services. Those guys did it for $2,840. It was actually cheaper than the R7 insulation that we were going to have put in here originally, but I got to looking at that insulation and even talked to somebody about it that's had one of these buildings put up, and they said it sucked. So a note to the guys wanting to do this, call LTH Steel or LHT Steel. I'm not sure which ones. They're in Atlanta, Georgia. Look it up either way on the internet. You'll find them. They have pretty good prices on installation. You can get an R13, R15 on up with a foil backing on it to put up in a metal building. It really will make a difference in the heat envelope on your building. Going back looking at it again, I may have done it where I had them put that insulation up, but I'm not sure what that costing would have been. It wouldn't have been cheap. Heat and AC, we had our friend Tony Jones put that in for us. He runs a heat and AC system here in the Aiken, Augusta area. He swears by the Mitsubishi cooling and heating units, the split units as they're called, and I have to say it was a great expenditure. I've been out here a couple of times this week, working in 90-degree heat, cool as a cucumber. I love it. That sucker cost us $4,895. And before you get going on me and you say, well, the Ding Dong Changalong units are like $2,000. Why didn't you go with that? Because cheap is cheap. I had a Mitsubishi unit in my other joint and it held up and ran like a steam train. Never had a problem with it. So, I'm not going to go with something I don't know. Garage doors. This is a place where we split some hairs. We went with a local business, Augusta Overhead Door Repair, to get the doors in and have them installed. The only problem I'll say that we had with that was just welcome to pandemic. Because with all that going on, the doors were delayed, and I think we waited on them almost 2 months. And those were $4,110. So that was not as bad as one of the prices from a local overhead door company quoted me. He actually cut them by about $2,000. I'm real happy about that. Next up was electrical. This was a turn your head and cough amount of money. We're talking $9,274.72. What I will say about that though is that they had to buy wire, and right now wire is horrifyingly expensive. They had to put 3 boxes up, one in Studio A, which is the outside main power box. Then they put the box up inside of Studio B, and also a smaller box over in the building that houses our compressor. So we had a box there to run power through that. Plus wiring up this building and Studio A, because the wiring in Studio A was crap. We used some original wiring, but we still had to go in and use some of the armor cable in there and in here. Armor cable is pretty cheap, but not real cheap. Plus I did some crazy stuff. I have a couple of wires that are on standalone circuits for welding. I want to be able to be sure that I don't have anything else running on that circuit that may be dropping my amperage or my voltage through the wires. So that was also part of that electrical cost. They did a great job, but wiring isn't cheap. I think that we figured out that about $2,000 of that was labor, and the rest was materials. Electrical right now sucks. It's not cheap. Lowe's. Lowe's and I got on a first name basis, and we actually opened up a business credit card so that we could keep track of it. And that's the wood for the framing in here, the sheetrock, the paint that we have, the gray that we put up, screws, fasteners, hardware, the PEX tubing that we use, the 3/4 PEX tubing that we use for running the air from the little building out back that's about 100 feet behind this structure here to the shop, clamps, shark bite tools, shark bite clamps, shark bite elbows and T's and straight pieces, ball valves. I don't even remember everything, but to the tune of $3,000. Green screen paint. You've seen our green screen wall and a couple of other things that we've done. Well, guess what? That paint was not cheap. It was $140, but it is a paint that is specific for green screen work. The way it's set up works much better than just getting regular old house paint and throwing that on a wall. Oh, wire burial. We had to have the wire buried from the pole to Studio A, and then from Studio A around to Studio B, and then from Studio B over to the little shed that houses the compressor. And lest we forget, I wanted to get a brand new compressor because the compressor I had at Ridgemont was a 1997 model that had had the absolute snot beat out of it by me. we use that compressor, not necessarily so much in our stuff that we did at Ridgemont, but in general, we use that compressor quite a bit. Plus, the compressor, I would forget about it and it would stay on, and it would lose pressure in the night, and it would just start up and run. We are going to put a timer on the compressor that we're putting out here. That would, I think that's adding like 20 bucks. And we haven't wired that yet either, so that's actually not on this cost. So what is, what is our grand total on this? Do you really want to know? Do I really want to know? Well, the grand total on this thing is $54,419.72. The 72 cent was part of the electrical package. I don't know why I always like to do that. So that's it. That's exactly what this joint cost to put up. $54,419. Just round it up to 420 bucks because I know, shoot, might as well round it up to $54,500 because I know there's stuff I missed in my tallies. But I'm going to say this in closing on what we're talking about here. My structure that I put up at Ridgemont was a 38 by 38 building that was attached to the house. It had a shingle roof, siding on it, and an upstairs office setup with a stairway down the middle of it that just drove me nuts for shooting as we went on into doing the videos that we do here. This place is a 30 by 36 with 12-foot ceilings, 10-foot doors, and the building that we put up at Ridgemont was, I think, $47,000-ish. Just call it $47,000 to be plain. And that was in 2007. So that should tell you right there that realistically this isn't that bad. There are things that are kind of a bummer and problematic about this building. One of those being the fact that, like I said before, rain is a problem. But other than that, I'm really ecstatic with it. It gives me the room to move around that we need to. If we wanted to bring someone in here to do other type of video work where they came in and did a video in our green screen corner or whatever, all that's available now that was not available at Ridgemont. We had much, much less usable space there. So, that's the expenditures. Speaking of expenditures, take a little time and go out and join our Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me, and you also get videos that Andrew and I produce. Andrew is my editor now because of our patrons. Our patrons actually allow us to bring Andrew on board, plus it helps to finance what we do with the kids around here on Saturday. We shoot on Saturdays so that young people can come in and help us do the video work. This teaches them how to become camera operators. It teaches them how to become editors. Andrew started off as a camera operator and editor lightly and has now transitioned into a full-time, part-time, I shouldn't say full-time, we're working toward full-time, a part-time employee that comes in and edits for me and does all the other stuff so that I can be out here getting everything ready for us to do videos for you guys. So please consider joining the Patreon account. You're helping other people out. If we've done anything for you at all, I think Patreon is a really good idea. Also, subscribe to the channel. We're on our march to 100,000 subscribers. Come on, guys. Find people. One of our guys is actually subscribed his grandmother, who probably doesn't understand why this is all mixed into her knitting videos. But I would like for you to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Click the bell for notification and make sure you're notified because YouTube's mucking around with that stuff again as well. So we may not show up on your feed if you don't click the notification. We post every week, usually twice a week. Finally, folks, do me a favor. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week and we'll see you next time on Autorestomod. Yeah, I know. I said that these were going to be separate videos, but in the rush to get done for the grand opening, I kind of lost track of that. So this video this week is about what we do, or what we did.